You're listening to The Secrets of Star Trek, where we discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings found in all the Star Trek TV series, movies, and more. And today we're discussing the first 2 episodes of the new Starfleet Academy show, the kids these days, and beta test. I'm Dom Bettinelli, and joining me today on the panel are Jimmy Aiken. Hey, Jimmy.
Nanu.
And Father Jason Tyler. Hey, Father.
Hello.
Folks, be sure to stick around to the end of the show. We have lots of your listener feedback that we want to share and respond to. Also, be sure to follow The Secrets of Star Trek. We're in Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, where you can watch the video version. We're on TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, and also the video version is on YouTube, where at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you get all the notifications of new episodes. All right, so we're going to handle these first 2 episodes separately in this one show. So, Jimmy, can you give us a recap of the first episode?
This week, we meet a mother and her little boy Caleb, who are in a delicate legal situation. A pirate named Nurse Braca stole food to help the mother and her child, and in doing so, he made the mother an accomplice to a felony, so the Federation is doing Les Mis. The pirate is sentenced to prison, and the mom is sentenced to a rehab colony, which leaves little boy Caleb all by himself. The woman who sentenced them, Captain Nala Ake, tries to comfort the boy, but he tricks her into leaving the room and then escapes from the facility. 15 years later, Caleb is a young man who is still searching for his mother and committing criminal acts right and left, but he gets caught. Meanwhile, Admiral Vance from the Discovery asks Captain Ake to become the chancellor of the newly rebooted Starfleet Academy. He bribes her into taking the position by saying that Caleb has been found alive, so maybe she can help him after all. Captain Ake goes to see Caleb in jail and tells him she can get him out of custody and they can get to looking for his mom if he comes to the academy, giving us either our season arc or our series arc. He agrees, and so we are soon aboard the starship Athena, which is itself part of the academy, and meeting all our numerous main characters. Caleb hacks the comm system to send his mother a message, though he doesn't know if she'll get it. Who does get it is the pirate guy, Nurse Braca, and he comes running and attacks the Athena. He wants to steal and sell its warp core, but it turns out that the kids in our main cast have just the right special skills to repel his attack. At the climax of the conflict, Caleb confronts Nurse Braca, and he says that he and Caleb's mom broke out of jail together, and then something happened to her. But before the nurse can reveal more, he escapes in a life pod. Afterwards, the Athena arrives at Earth and integrates into Starfleet Academy in San Francisco. The end.
All right. And then we'll see what happens next after our discussion of this one. Father, your overall impression?
You know, I went into this with some admittedly low expectations, but this pilot episode, did better than what I was expecting. The action scenes I thought were good. I was glad to see that we're going to have a ship involved, so they won't be, fully confined to the Academy campus every episode. I thought the visuals, the special effects were good. The story was not bad. I thought there was a little bit, the teen gossipy focus at times, and who's dating who. It felt like they were setting some things up for that. So that's kind of the negative side. But overall, pretty good episode.
Did you see evidence of them setting up who's dating who in this, or is that more anticipation on your part?
I guess it's more anticipation on my part, and just little things in the interactions made me, I guess, not dispel that expectation.
There was some flirtation in that first episode, though.
Yeah. Exactly.
Especially between Genesis and Caleb.
Yeah,
right.
Though now we've got a love triangle with them as of episode 2.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Jimmy, what'd you think of this one?
It was better than I expected. I was concerned enough based on advanced marketing for this that it looked like what everyone's saying. Star Trek 90210, and I never watched those shows even when they were on the air, and I had no interest in watching them. And I'm perfectly capable of bowing out of a Starfleet series and not watching it at all. I have not seen the last 2 seasons of Discovery, and none of them. And I was kind of a little coerced by y'all into watching the first 2 episodes of this one, and I was thoroughly prepared to hate it. and I didn't completely hate it. It was better than I expected. It had some stupid stuff. It had a little bit of political stuff in it, at least connected with one of the central plot points. But it had redeeming features. One character that I thought I would not like at all, based on the previews, is the part Klingon, part Jem'Hadar woman, Laura Thok. And I liked her more than I thought I would. I didn't expect her. I mean, I didn't expect to like her at all. And she actually reminds me of Joe Martin's fugitive doctor from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And,
look at the actress, in fact.
I know I had to just say, is this Joe Martin? And it wasn't Joe Martin. But I love Joe Martin's fugitive doctor. And so having a character that reminds me of that on Star Trek was a bonus. And so, I have criticisms, and we'll get into those as we proceed further. But my basic reaction was sufficient to send you guys an email saying, I've just watched this, and if y'all want to, I could actually see us reviewing this week by week for 10 weeks.
Right. And to let folks know, yeah, that's what we're going to do, is we're planning to review this week by week. We're going to take a break for our 400th episode. We're doing a special thing for that in a couple of weeks. And then we'll double up the week after that to catch up. But I was on the fence at the same time too. And actually, for me, after watching these, I was a little less, but I was more positive ahead of time, I think, slightly. And I'll get into why when we talk about the second episode, why I ended up being less. But after the first episode, I was pretty positive about things. I still think Alex Kurtzman, he's the producer, and he directed the first episode. I think his Star Trek tends to be too like blow everything up, and then next episode everything is perfect again, fixed sort of thing. It was a little much that first episode. I feel like, and he does that a lot in his various series. That's
also kind of normal for a first episode. You want to grab the audience.
Oh yeah, that's true. Their first trip out though, everything's blown up and people are being blown all over the place. And welcome to the Academy. But the other thing is that there is tons of fan service Easter eggs in this. Yes. Tons, and I almost felt like maybe a little too much. Like I think it felt like they were trying really hard to make this connect with the Star Trek fans. Some of them were fun to have, but we'll get into it, the specifics as we go. But overall, this first episode, I liked it. It was okay. I like Paul Giamatti as a villain. He chews the scenery with the best of them. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Tim Curry in that style. The actor Tim Curry.
Yeah, he plays the nurse pirate.
The nurse, yes. Nurse Braca, report to OR. So that was sort of my overall. Let's talk about that opening where Caleb and his mother. Caleb is a child at the opening. They're kind of apparently refugees from Earth, or at least they're talking about going back to Earth someday. They've been arrested by Starfleet. And
this is before Discovery undoes the burn. So yes. Going back to Earth would be a more momentous thing at this point in the timeline than it will be later.
Right. And so they make this big deal about, they have to separate the boy from his mother because we're separating families. And that has political resonance. This
is where the show gets political, and it's really I found this to be among the weakest parts, because the truth is they're commenting on like illegal immigration here in the United States, and parents being taken away from families and stuff like that. But the problem is, it's always been the case that if you commit a crime, you go to jail.
Right.
And if you have kids, you're going to have separated families. And so this is just the reality of committing crimes. Now, Holly Hunter then has this line. She plays Captain Nala Ake and she feels so torn up because of what she did sentencing Nurse Braca and the mother to their fates. As she says to Admiral Vance later, separating parents from children is reprehensible. Yeah, and so is parents committing crimes. So I thought this is just liberal Hollywood politics bleeding through. Now, you could argue that they do punishment and rehabilitation differently in the 29th century or whatever this is. 31st. I forget exactly how far in the future it's supposed to be. But like maybe they put you in a resort rehab colony and you get to take your kids with you. Okay, well, then that would undo our premise here. But if that's the norm, then you would need to establish that. Or if it had been the norm for a while in Federation history, you need to establish that to explain Holly Hunter's line about why she views this as reprehensible. Because to me, as someone who lives in a pre-post scarcity society, this is how you do it. You commit a crime, you go to jail, you don't get to be with all your best buds.
Right.
Yeah, it would have made more sense for her to feel bad about having sentenced the mother in the first place. Thinking the sentence itself was too harsh rather than thinking about the family separation aspect of things.
Yeah, and in fact, they could have solved that by making the mother's role in the crime less clear. Right. And so then she gets sentenced, and then new evidence shows up that makes Holly Hunter feel bad.
Right.
Right. Because even today, if you participate in a crime that results in the death of somebody, even if you're not the person who caused the death of somebody, you get sentenced with. You mean
you're an accessory? Yeah.
And so, I mean that it's I think you said a Les Mis type of crime. She was trying to feed herself and her child, and was caught up in this situation. So it's an awful situation, sure, but that whole premise of it's terrible that the Federation separates children from their parents who committed crimes.
It's also just stupid. Now, the truth is that the Hollywood writers here aren't interested in any of the things we just said. What they want is to make the point about separating parents from children is horrible. Right. That's all they care about saying. So they're not interested in explanations that would fix it. But as a result of not being interested in things, they have harmed the artistic merit of what they've produced, including things like, just how much food did this lady steal? I mean, I know in our culture, stealing fairly small amounts of food can get you a significant prison sentence because our criminal justice system is out of control, which it is. But this is the Federation where they give, traitors like Tom Paris 2 years in a resort. Right. How much food did she steal?
Well, presumably during the burn, things got a little bit messed up, so to, like maybe sentences got harsher and whatever else.
They still have replicators. Just replicate the lady's food. Like what? They didn't spend much time trying to figure out the logic of the situation.
I also found it weird that the judge in the case becomes the one taking care of the child. Like, do they not have somebody that can serve as a foster parent or something?
Social services
of some sort? Why does it fall to the judge of the case?
He's my special project.
Yeah. Seems like a conflict of interest too, right? Like if you're the judge and you don't want to take care of a 5-year-old, then maybe you won't sentence the mother to prison. Or if you're the judge and you've always wanted to have a child but haven't been able to, maybe you've got an incentive to impose a harsher sentence, right?
Yep. By the way, we should mention that the background of Nala Ake, she's half. Not Lurian. What is the word?
Lanthanite.
So she's 422 years old, but looks, 40, 50, something like that.
Yeah.
And I have, so here's something else, since we're talking about Holly Hunter. I noticed in previews of this and reactions to previews that a lot of people were questioning how good she would be as a Starfleet captain. One of the things they noticed is she's depicted kind of sitting in the captain's chair of the Athena in what I guess charitably could be called unconventional ways. She's like lounging in it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people I saw said, this is not how a Starfleet captain should act. I saw others after the episodes dropped that said, okay, she's actually okay, except for when she's like sitting in the chair.
Right.
But I've seen people comment that she doesn't have the gravitas needed to be a Starfleet captain. And I think I have to agree there.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about her delivery that does not have the gravitas. Also, I frankly was worried for her watching this. There's something going on with her mouth that makes it asymmetrical.
She's always been that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big Holly Hunter fan. I mean, she did great as Elastigirl in The Incredibles. On the other hand, she starred in that terrible 1980s Roe v. Wade TV movie, which I've always resented. But she plays Norma McCorvey in that. But she's got this asymmetric mouth, and I started typing, just because I was concerned, has Holly Hunter, and then Google automatically filled it in, had a stroke. And apparently the answer is no. So, thank God for that. But it's just a weird casting choice.
Yeah, she I've seen her in a bunch of stuff over the years, Raising Arizona and that sort of thing. The lacking the gravitas, like the whole, like the barefoot, walking around barefoot thing to official functions and lounging in the chair. Like, it's not it's misogynistic. Janeway, for whatever flaws she had gravitas.
I wouldn't, if a man was walking around barefoot at functions and lounging in the captain's chair, I would have the same reaction. Exactly. It has nothing to do with sex.
Right, exactly. So I agreed. I felt like my note was like, she just feels very loosey-goosey as a captain, just too loose.
And then she wonders why she can't get good discipline out of Caleb Meir. He has a very undisciplined response to her. Well, of course, you're not conducting yourself in a disciplined professional manner, so you're not going to elicit that sort of response from your cadets.
He's clearly
She's also using emotional blackmail to even have him in Starfleet Academy.
But he's clearly a young man who grew up without a father figure. I'm sorry, but that's like, this is classic. We see this today. Young men who don't have fathers in their lives tend to act out, aggressive. He needs someone who is loving but strong, not heavy-handed, not beat him down. I'm not saying anything like that, but he needs a firm hand. Even Pike would be better.
There is, apropos of that, there is a moment. Oh, Pike would be way better.
Yeah.
There is a moment where they first arrive at the Athena and they're walking through the hotel lobby, and people commented on Next Gen, the bridge looks like a hotel lobby.
Yeah.
This show has a hotel lobby in it.
Jimmy's taking cruises, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that big open space when you come aboard the cruise ship.
Yeah. So they arrive in the hotel lobby and they establish, this is very early when they arrive. Yeah. And Caleb is dressed not in a uniform, and he's like, I don't do uniforms, and he's got this weird hair, and it's like, I'm not getting a haircut. And then he walks through a doorway, which is also a transporter, and boom, he's got a haircut and he's in a uniform. I thought that was okay. That's nice.
That was good. Yeah. So the doctor is here, the doctor from Voyager, and is it me? Like, he explains why he looks older. Yeah. So they want to do that. We put an aging program in because it makes people more comfortable, even though they know he's a hologram. Whatever.
That's nonsense.
Yeah.
He's not Joseph Kerwin from The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, where people notice 100 years later he hasn't grown any older. No one's going to care.
Right.
I guess Data,
Picard. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that establishes he is the original Doctor. He's not the fork of the Doctor that ended up in the Delta Quadrant 800 years later in that episode where the Doctor is revived after 800 years and is trying to set the record straight about what Voyager did and didn't do.
Yeah.
Which opens up story possibilities. That might be an interesting episode in the future.
Yep. Also, he and Nurse Braca both have some really nice lines in this that I thought were genuinely funny. Early, when Nurse Braca sees Caleb's mother at the trial, he's like, "Ooh, malnutrition really brings out your cheekbones." Which, now, of course, if she's at a Starfleet facility and they have replicators, why is she malnourished?
Right.
But it's a good line,
Yeah.
and could be understood as a reference to Ozempic in Hollywood, that weight loss drug.
Yeah.
Then the Doctor has a really nice callback to Voyager where he's doing something and he says to the person next to him, tricorder, and they hand him a tricorder. He's like, medical tricorder.
Right.
And that's a really nice callback.
And that was an Easter egg I appreciated. I agree with Dom that I think there were a few too many, but I thought that one was well done.
Now, did the Doctor turn up his snark algorithm? Because he's a lot crankier than he was ever on Voyager.
Maybe that's a side effect of the aging program he put in.
It is funny. He's a lot crankier.
When I turned 40, I gave myself permission to be crankier and not care as much.
Yeah. So, you mentioned let's see, the Academy is partly the ship Athena is partly, it kind of lands and docks into the Academy and becomes part of it.
And that's interesting. And that's okay, because this Academy is to teach them how to go be people on starships. So I guess it makes sense to incorporate significant, starship training into their program.
Right. And apparently, and this comes up more in the next episode, but they mentioned in the first one, so until now, Starfleet has basically had what they've called a war college, which apparently was not, it was designed to train officers, military officers, for military defense purposes, because Starfleet really hadn't been its exploration, function until the burn ended. We need to recapture. That's not what a war college is.
Well,
they used they're using a term that has a meaning, and it was a minor annoyance, but it's an annoyance. A war college is where people who are already officers go to learn and study tactics and strategy and to be, professional development as to become senior officers. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, its real purpose is to establish, okay, so we got the boys' academy on this side of the lake and the girls' academy on that side of the lake, and we're going to have conflict between the two at some point.
Right. And yeah, at the end of the second episode, they really draw that out, which we'll get to. Yeah. So you mentioned Laura Thok. She's half Klingon, half Jem'Hadar.
And apparently female, and none of that makes any sense.
Right. But she's the cadet master and essentially executive officer of the Athena when it's flying around. So, whereas the Ake is captain and chancellor of the Academy, the president of the Academy, whatever you want to call it. So we have a Klingon who doesn't want to fight, who wants to study science, which clearly there has to always been Klingons who do that.
Yeah, Krog. And we've met Klingon scientists in the past, as far back as Next Gen.
I feel like the actor was stilted in his delivery. Did you get that sense?
He reminded me a good bit of Michael Dorn in his delivery, and Michael Dorn was pretty stilted in the beginning too.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll grow into the role like Michael Dorn did. So that I think it's in the hotel lobby. They have the wall of names.
Yes.
And every single person on that wall is someone
we know.
Series.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting we had an Admiral Harry Kim listed. The guy that couldn't get promoted past incidents. All of a sudden, that Admiral on this wall.
I missed a bunch of people, too.
I missed that one. I didn't see that. That's good.
There's Captain Devana Tendi, which was nice to see. Devana gets to be captain.
Captain Nyota Uhura.
Yep. There was a whole bunch. I thought I took
Sulu's
notes
daughter
on
is listed as a captain, even.
Who was?
Sulu's daughter.
Right.
Captain, I forget her first name, but it was Captain, and then the woman's name Sulu. I would assume that was his daughter that shows up at one point, right?
That was her. Yeah, and I wonder if it's on the...
You guys are the reason that donor walls exist.
Yes. Well, it's the Easter eggs. There's a Kirk Pavilion, and then
Yes.
there's later
Salto
on
Atrium,
we'll see some of the other ones in the second episode.
So why don't we go down real quick and mention our other Key Academy students? So
just going to go do that. Yeah,
we've got
Sam.
Well, so we've got Caleb. We mentioned him. He's a student.
Yep.
Then there's Krog, the Klingon. You mentioned him.
Yep.
Then there's a girl named Sam who is very smiley and friendly and also hologram.
Yes.
And I liked her. I thought she was fine. They make a joke of she's a little too smiley for the social situations in which she finds herself. She's programmed to feel 17, but she's really only 4 months old. And so that explains some of the awkwardness with her. There is a guy named Raimi who is a Kionian. I don't know that we've ever seen them before. I certainly don't remember him. He seems to he's able to survive in space for up to 8 minutes. And he's apparently a shape changer. He takes human form when he's interacting with humans, but he's got at least one other form where he looks like a weird fish dude, which he uses to be in space. There's a girl with weird flesh swirls around her eyebrows, named Genesis. And she has a little bit of flirtation with Caleb, and those are our students. There are others. You mentioned Captain Ake. We've mentioned Cadet Master Laura Thok. One bit of off-screen casting is, now they have a computer voice who, like other Star Trek series, is a woman. But then they also have either another computer or an announcer at the Academy. Who is played by Stephen Colbert, which I think is a mistake. That's just a big distraction.
Stunt casting. Yeah.
Well, stunt casting that appeals to one particular side of the political spectrum, which is not what you want if you're trying to get a broad audience.
Right. Exactly. I found a lot of the announcements.
It'd be like having Rush Limbaugh as your digital dean of students.
Right. All of those, like the dean of student announcements, I just found it distracting. Like it's unnecessary. What are we doing? Like, because that doesn't happen in any college that I've ever been to, where you have constant announcements of stuff going on, like a cruise director.
You haven't been to Greendale Community College.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
The dean in community is on the announcement.
Okay.
Like that constantly.
But I've never seen one in real life where it was like that. That's for sure. All right. So, and then you mentioned Admiral Vance shows up a number of times as well. Sort of a recurring character is what I'm trying to say. So, I finally another one from the wall, by the way, is Gwendala from Prodigy. She's also a captain. I noticed that was the one I was looking for.
I also noticed they have a new vanity sequence at the beginning of these where they showed starships beginning with the original Enterprise flying by.
Oh yeah.
And they've got the 1701, they've got the 1701D, they've got the Defiant for Deep Space Nine, they've got Voyager, and then they do Discovery and so forth.
Enterprise.
The Enterprise also, and here are all of our main ships. But where's the Cerritos and the Protostar?
I thought there was a big lack there.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
the Cerritos and the Protostar were in two of the best new Trek series.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we only get live action ships. So yeah. All right. So, by the way, the hologram thing, I just find the idea that you could have a colony of holograms. I mean, we've already talked about how the idea of the Doctor as a person is kind of ridiculous, but the idea that you have a colony of holograms is kind of ridiculous. Just, oh, look, a power outage. It's a genocide. Come on. anyway, that's my beef on that. But Data's a toaster too. So they get tricked into dropping out of warp by Nurse Braca.
And speaking of dropping out of warp, so this is a you tell me situation because I normally couldn't care less what the ship looks like. But even I have in my notes weird bird looking ship.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think of that?
Father, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I thought it was weird.
Yeah. I find the whole like the 30th century thing about where the parts of the ship don't actually connect. Like, how does that work? Like, how are they providing warp drive to? I don't know. Yeah, I don't really like the design of most of the 30th century stuff they've got. But I know the designers have been given an impossible problem. We've jumped 1,000 years into the future. Give us ships that are recognizably Star Trek, but are 1,000 years more advanced. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't love it.
I also notice, they have comm badges.
Yep.
And in next gen, the comm badges looked like the Delta or Alpha logo for Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have continued that here, but they've done it differently. And it looks like the comm badges they have is a squashed flat version of the ship.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that could play a function in that it signals you, oh, you're from the Academy. Right. But in looking at it, I kept thinking that looks just like the molar I had pulled.
That could be an unpleasant reminder.
Well, back in the original series, there was a couple of times early on when they had
variants.
Starfleet officer. Yeah, there's some variants, officers from different ships. They didn't have the same little insignia. They had a different one.
Only the Enterprise had that insignia. It was ship to ship back then too.
There was, and actually on Memory Alpha they have a whole page about all that. And apparently the Enterprise design was meant to be universal, and the others are variations that are explained in some other way. It was a more complex answer than what I had assumed, because I had assumed the same thing, that like each ship had its own insignia patches.
Right. I've seen different explanations where after the Enterprise came back from its epic 5-year mission, Starfleet was so excited that they adopted the Enterprise's insignia as Starfleet's insignia and something like that. But I've seen the variations on that. So
yeah, this was like a behind the scenes explanation for it.
Okay. So there's another character, by the way, who's on the bridge, the academic liaison.
Oh, this person, yes.
And her job is to stand there, and when they're in any situation, she's to advise the captain on how we can make this a teachable moment.
Yeah, this is her apparent whole job is to stand there and say, this is a teaching opportunity. And that's all she does.
Yes. Yeah.
He's hiding something. That Counselor Troy lines, right?
It's the bloat of administration in higher academia. That's the problem.
This character, as well as Laura Thok and Holly Hunter, appeared in like one of the early previews that they released, and people immediately noticed that the whatever she is, who says this is a teaching opportunity, and Joe Martin are both large individuals, and this was interpreted as as casting statements about, I guess, body positivity or something.
Same with Sam, by the way, the hologram.
Yeah, and I don't. If that's the case, it didn't really bug me. When I saw it out of context, it's like, oh, what are they doing here? Yeah. But when I saw it in context to the rest of the episode, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just don't like that teaching opportunity character.
Yeah, it seems superfluous. I wonder, like, when we originally heard about this, it was this show. It was a big deal was made about Tilly from Discovery going to the show, and she's she wasn't in this. She's not. I think she makes an appearance in at least one episode, from what I understand. I haven't dug too deeply into the spoilers, but but I figured like that's the role she would have played, but it's kind of odd how that this show has changed in how they presented it from then to now. But
well, maybe that's a sign they're learning.
Do that. Was that?
Maybe that's a sign they're learning. They're making adjustments.
Yeah. Although Tilly was one of my favorite characters, at least from the first 3 seasons of Discovery. We end with, so Caleb screws up by, hacking the systems and sending the signal, which draws Nurse Breck to attack Athena, and it's his fault, and everyone's mad at him. We have these action sequences. Laura Thought gets injured and has to be saved by the students, and there's all kinds of drama surrounding that.
And she gets to scream her head off because she's like impaled with something.
Yeah.
And for a Klingon who's also a Jem'Hadar and screaming her head off, I thought that was pretty good. I mean, normally when people get injured on Star Trek, they kind of go, ugh, and that's about it. And she's being vocal about what's happened, and I actually appreciated that.
That was something I noted too. A lot of times battle scenes in Star Trek, the most damage we see is a console on the bridge explodes or something like that. But this one, we got to see, some real stuff throughout the ship. We see a major injury, the effect it has. I thought that was a good side of things.
The amount of damage done to the ship, and then we hear there's a bunch of casualties, but no one's died.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That was a little hard to,
Also, incorrect usage of casualty. Casualties include death and injuries.
So, yes.
But that's a...
But, they had to set it up with no deaths, because if someone had died, that would have made it harder for them to keep Caleb Meir in the Academy and moving forward and everything.
Right. And that's, we end with him in Ake's, Nala Ake's office, and he wants to go. She wants him to stay. And they have this discussion
I've
about...
heard so many rock songs about this.
Exactly. She reveals that she had a child who died, and I'm sure we'll learn more about that in future episodes.
Maybe.
And she says, as a mother regretting her child's death, if she could do it over again, she'd listen, not maneuver or judge. Yeah. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand what they're trying to say here.
There's an even worse platitudinal remark in episode 2, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But it's just nonsense writing.
Yeah.
By the way, because I almost used another term instead of nonsense. I almost used a pair of initials. But one aspect of this that I didn't like, that is an amplification of what I saw on Discovery, is there's more cussing in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
caught the same.
So I'm gonna take a dispensation to use the words. I'm just gonna list them because people who care about such things need to know what they would be hearing.
So if you have children listening with you in the car, say,
hit mute.
Hit mute for a few minutes.
Although they're not. It won't be minutes, but
for a minute.
And they're also far from the worst.
Yeah.
But like when Nurse Ratchet shows up again later in the episode, Holly Hunter, he says, "I'm just a businessman," and Holly Hunter says, "Then you're a shit businessman." Yeah. And then after that, in episodes 1 and 2, mostly in episode 1, we get bitch, dicking, used in the "this is who I am, bitch" type of sense, of just as a general description of people. Dicking, asshole, bite me, and dick.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, they're not constantly cussing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they could find other ways to do what they want without using these terms in the show, and that would be an improvement.
Which they always did.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need to, make up your own space cussing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but the 32nd century will be using different cuss words anyway.
Well, they're likely to actually not be that. They're likely to be on the same topics. Like people, English has a remarkably, this is what you get when you study linguistics, but English has remarkably conservative cuss words that tend to stay the same for long periods of time. Like if we were 150, 200 years ago and we started cussing, they would know exactly what we're saying.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And cuss words anyway tend to cluster around the same set of topics.
Yeah.
You'll notice all the ones that we mentioned or that I just mentioned are bathroom related terms.
Yes.
Or reproduction related. And those are two of the things that cuss words tend to cluster around. But and Battlestar Galactica was famous for using frack. Yep.
And in its original incarnation, Felgercarb.
Yep.
Which is less identifiable than frack. Mork and Mindy had Shazbot.
Yes.
And I remember an episode where Mindy was pointing out to Mork that if it was known he was an alien, little kids would follow him around and say Shazbot. He's like, if they only knew what it meant. My favorite example of science fiction cussing is from my favorite comic book, The Legion of Superheroes, which also occurs in the 30th century. And the Legionnaires would have cuss words like grife and things like that. And eventually they established enough context that you could kind of guess Grife is the name of a supernatural being, possibly a deity. But then they had a back page interview with the fictional science officer liaison to the Legion. And it's like, so what's it like working with the Legionnaires? And it's like, it's really good. They're a bunch of really good kids. They're saving the worlds. They're doing all this great stuff. The only thing is they cuss a lot, but they're under so much stress saving the universe, and for all this fake cussing. I also, and I appreciate fake cussing. The first time I ever saw the movie Tremors, I saw a TV version of it, and they had all of this fake minced oaths. Like where they would have people saying "Galdern" and stuff like that, and they used them so much it was funny.
Yeah.
And then I saw a non-TV version of the movie, and it's like, oh,
their lips weren't moving along with the word you were hearing.
They TV-ified those cuss words. It was funny when they did that.
Yeah. So Firefly, the way they did it was they had them all cussing in Chinese.
Yeah.
Which was it. But my favorite current one is The Mandalorian, which gave us Dank Ferric. And that has become the universal oath in my household with the kids. Like if someone stubs their toe, they're like, "Oh, Dank Ferric." I'm like,
"Oh, well, that's 6-7 for your household."
Yeah. Oh man. I love using the kids' terms like skibbity and stuff because it drives them crazy. I love it. They hate when I do it. 6-7. So that tangent aside, any other notes on this first one, kids these days, Father?
Nothing from me.
How about you, Jimmy?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. So let's move on to a beta test. And
actually, there was something.
Okay.
So if you're watching this episode now, it's longer than normal, but you can expect a bunch of over the top, flying around whiz-bangery early on when Caleb is still a criminal searching for his mom. And then you can expect a bunch of action stuff later. Just ignore the first part I found annoying, but I realized, we're in the first 10 minutes of the first episode. This is just to catch the audience's attention. So don't worry about it. It's not going to constantly be that frenetic.
Yeah.
In fact, it's not going to be frenetic at all in episode 2.
We dial it way back. We used it all up in the first one. Just one last thing you made me think of it. A 5-year-old escaping out a window into a sandstorm all on his own and surviving.
Yeah.
Hard to believe, but okay. So Jimmy, can you give us a recap of beta test?
This week, we're at Starfleet Academy on Earth, and Caleb has another case of the Clash and wants to know, should I stay or should I go? At the same time, Earth is planning to rebuild its seat of governance in Paris, they decide. Also, a delegation from Beta Z is arriving. Beta Z quit the Federation after the burn, and the Federation really, really, really needs them to come back. Caleb meets a mysterious girl who turns out to be the daughter of the Beta Z president. The president is an isolationist who Admiral Vance thinks is only here to say no in the end, but Caleb and his daughter are hitting it off really well and have a typical TV rapid romance. Caleb also learns that the place his mom escaped from is a world behind the Beta Z psionic defense wall, and the romance goes sideways when the daughter becomes convinced that he was just using her to try to find his mom. The president also fulfills expectations by canceling the negotiations and saying they will not rejoin the Federation. So Caleb makes a last-minute impassioned airport apology to the daughter and begs her to get her father back to the negotiating table one more time. When he does so, the Federation makes a dramatic counteroffer. They will build their seat of governance on Beta Z instead of in Paris. That's too good an offer to refuse, and so Beta Z is back with the Federation. Afterwards, the president's two children decide to stay on Earth and go to the Academy and its associated war college. Captain Ake tells Caleb that now that they know what world his mom was on, they've been able to establish that she is apparently alive, and she headed for a new sector of space 3 months ago. She then gives Caleb access to all her comm channels to see if he can find a message from her. The end.
So I kind of want to just preempt and
okay.
A little thought of my own up front is
you're feeling it.
In this one, there's also a little bit of politics because I feel like we have an intransigent president who wants to keep up a wall to keep the outsiders out. That felt a little close to home.
Hadn't even spotted that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Their psionic wall.
There's the fact it's a psionic wall, I guess, threw me off. Yeah. Otherwise, a wall in space would. Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense. All right. That's it. I'll have more to say, but Father, why don't you give us your take?
I was looking for a little more action. Yeah, this is kind of a slower episode in a certain sense, and it didn't go the direction I expected. I thought we'd see not yet get a resolution to the whole Betazoid joining the Federation thing. I thought that was going to play out over the season. I also thought the whole Goja 5 situation was going to be revealed as some conspiracy that was keeping it hidden rather than something, behind the Betazoid wall. So, I was actually kind of glad to have a couple of my expectations subverted in that way. Yeah, because
Ryan Johnson would be proud. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, it does, it didn't leave me, just extremely excited by the end of it either.
All right. How about you, Jimmy?
First, I'll mention. So, Father alluded to Goja 5, which is not a car cleaning product. It turns out, but the planet that Nurse Ratched and Caleb's mom were on, where they were in prison and they escaped from, and it apparently is a colony that formed after the wall went up, which is why the Federation didn't know about it. But and none of that's plausible because unless the Goja star system changed its name after the wall went up, that doesn't make any sense. But I thought this was an interesting episode. I kept waiting for it to develop a conventional science fiction threat, something that would give us an action scene, and there isn't one. It never develops. This is all about negotiation and inter-character relationships, and I didn't mind that. Not once I knew what it was, because at first I'm going, so when are you going to develop the science fiction threat? And they never did. But we've seen an episode that didn't have one on Star Trek before, and it was fine. Namely, season 4 of Next Gen, the second episode, Family. Where Picard goes back to France, and it's all about his feelings recovering from the Borg and his relationship with his brother and stuff like that. And nobody complained about that episode. This happened to have a romance in it, but I don't have a problem with romance. That's part of the human experience. So even though this episode people will seize on and say, oh, it's Star Trek 90210, well, we haven't gotten there. I don't think we've gotten there yet. This wasn't a teen drama type thing. Not it. I mean, it could be a setup for one. Yeah. Now that we've got the Betazoid girl going to the war college or the girls' school on the one side of the lake, and Caleb is at the boys' school on the other side of the lake. I mean, that could set us up, especially with Genesis, as a love triangle. Mm-hmm. So I thought this could set up teen drama, but I didn't think it was full on teen drama in this. And I didn't mind it as an episode, although I was very distracted by, if this girl's from Beta Z, why isn't she wearing black contact lenses?
Right. I'm just gonna disagree on the it felt totally like a teen romance, like something out of one of these. Oh,
I agree, teen romance, but I separate that from teen drama.
Yeah, I mean the whole relationship was a cliche from beginning to end. The princess and the pauper, and we're getting to know you, and we're flirting, and then there's a misunderstanding, and they break up, and then later on they make up when he chases her down in the airport, or as you pointed out, and apologizes, and blah blah blah, yawn yawn yawn. It's a formula, and it's like, could you write something a little more interesting, like just like, and that annoys me because like I'm not opposed to romance, but it's got to be at least plausible and good, and not the same thing I've seen 100 million times. Well, in exactly the same progression, and that's the thing, is it went exactly as I expected it to, and that kind of bugged me a bit with this one. Yeah, I like the president was deaf. I thought that was an interesting addition to the character. They didn't make a huge deal out of it, although him turning off his interpretive little drone thing on his throat to speak in his own voice at the end was dramatic.
Right.
Okay, that was interesting.
I wondered, though, why did they show the Betazoids signing to each other, right? Using sign language to communicate.
They're telepaths.
But they're telepaths. I was thinking that too. Loxana Troy and Deanna Troy could just telepathically speak to each other. Why can they not do that?
And Deanna was half human.
Exactly.
Like, they're full Betazoids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was weird too. Like, I don't understand why they're signing to each other. Like, was it Betazoid, like a different Betazoid language, or like it just was weird? And or just being signing in ASL. I don't know ASL.
I didn't. I know enough ASL, or did at one time, to babysit a 5-year-old, but I wasn't paying attention close enough, because a lot of the signing they're doing, they don't give you a good shot. You can see the person's hands kind of in the bottom of frame, but they're not giving you a good clear shot.
Right.
And so I wasn't paying attention, but I was curious too of, are they using ASL? Or are they making up a language, which is what they should be doing if these are Betazoids.
Sure. And here's a little headcanon possibility. What if, as a Betazoid, if you're deaf, that also limits your telepathic abilities?
That would be interesting. It would also maybe say some interesting thing about how their genetics work, since his daughter is like super Betazoid, and she's wearing a restraining device because she'll become a poltergeist if she gets a spike of their special neurotransmitter.
Right. And I don't think any of them were hosts, right?
That's the Trill.
Trill, yeah. Oh, sorry. Right. Wow, I just totally...
Jadzia is not Deanna.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting my head is all over the place. I was so thrown by this episode. All right, just a couple of thoughts. I like this, that they have scenes where they're in classrooms, because this is an academy, so it's expected. We have the doctor teaching a weird biology class. Like, none of it's conventional. Like, like, here's biology, let's teach you biology. No, we start off with, here's this
jar of mucus
that someone's eventually going to get covered in.
Yes.
Thing.
Also, while we're on the subject of the medical classroom, and you could even see this from the previous episode because Holly Hunter put them on, but apparently Retinax is a lost technology because you see people wearing eyeglasses in this.
Although as a Lanthanite, they seem to tend to like keep around old technology. Like in her quarters, she has the record player, which is old enough as it is. So maybe it's an affectation or something.
Yeah.
The other one was Janet Reno's.
Up. I was going to mention Janet Reno is back, and she is.
Father, I think this is the first time you've been with us when we've had Janet Reno.
Yeah. The actress Tig Notaro.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Reno's her, but yeah, she's gonna. I forget what her first name is on the show, but yeah.
I know, she's just Janet Reno. and now for me, that pirate is Nurse Ratched. So.
Which is great because Kai Wynn is the actress who played Kai Wynn was Nurse Ratched.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting that they let Janet Reno in her lecture to the class mention Oscar Wilde and mention Oscar Wilde's death. And so Oscar Wilde was famously reported and even prosecuted for being gay. But what they didn't mention is when he died, Oscar Wilde became Catholic.
Yeah.
He was received into the Catholic Church right at the end of his life.
Yeah.
Yep. He had a essentially deathbed conversion.
Yeah.
So the character's Jet Reno. So, but
Jet Reno.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
How could you not?
Gosh, it's not even very far from Janet. Actually.
I know. Yeah.
And all credit to Jimmy for that one. You came up with those. So,
by the way, one thing that now y'all mentioned the donor wall at Starfleet Academy where we see all the names of the previous characters. One of the things that I'm more attracted to than donor plaques is faces. And we got crowd sequences here. And we also get characters in the background, and they put in some interesting characters in crowd scenes or walking around in hallways. Among others, I noticed some of this was in episode 1, but most of it's in episode 2. I noticed they have, and I forget the term, but a Caronian. Where they're black on one side and white on the other.
Who were supposed to have died out.
Back in the last battlefield, let that be your last battlefield in the original series. They also had one in the Section 31 movie.
They did.
And some fans have said, "Oh, you're breaking continuity," and I'm going, "This is science fiction. Comic book rules apply." There could have been other Coronians exploring other parts of the galaxy when Let Your Last Battlefield happened, or time travel, or cloning, or parallel evolution, or any number of things.
Yeah, right.
So
Frozen embryos
doesn't bother me that they're back. I like seeing them. They look visually interesting. What I haven't done is see which of the Coronian races is this person. Are they the white on the black and
like on the right,
white on the right or on the left, or black other way around, whatever, because they established there are those two races.
Yeah.
And I thought, as bizarre as it is to have someone split down the middle with color, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Because it was an episode about racism, and it effectively made the point that who cares about skin color?
Right.
Right.
Because Kirk and Spock never even noticed that Bailey and Lokai, or whatever their names were, had the colors reversed. And to Lokai and Bailey, it was like, can't you see that we're different? And it's like, actually, kind of, who cares?
It was what I think, and we haven't done that on this show yet, but I think that was one of the greatest morals of a Star Trek episode ever, because it was so effective when they revealed it, and everyone who watches it goes, Oh,
Yeah.
it's such a surprise.
It is, because you do not see that coming in the first time you see that episode. It's a total surprise. So we had one of them. We also had an exocomp at Starfleet Academy. We had
Almond Basket, I think it's called.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
Well, that goes with Peanut Hamper.
Exactly.
And there's a member of Rock's Race, whatever they're called. Yeah. And I noticed there's a woman wearing a headdress that makes it look like she's Muslim.
Yep.
And I thought that was a nice acknowledgement of Earth religion. So I thought
there was also a Silurian in the background, which is interesting. Suliban in the background.
Oh,
not certain, but it looked like a Suliban with the pebbly skin.
Didn't notice that.
Yeah.
They also had one of those lizard guys like Linus on Discovery.
Yep. He was in the first episode. Yeah. It was. I like the variety. That's really nice. I gather that the actor who plays the president of Beta Z is himself deaf.
Because if you're going to have a character that has a characteristic, the actor must have that characteristic.
Exactly. Yeah. Representation. He's deaf. So
okay.
Yeah.
It is a good place to get someone who knows sign language. It would either typically be them or one of their family members.
Right.
And they didn't make a big deal.
No, they didn't. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
They made a bigger deal out of it in that early next gen bad episode. Yeah.
They did. We also have we do meet the president of the War College. He's got a stick up his butt, and he's a stick in the mud. He does not like loosey goosey Nala Ake. So that's fine. A weird story issue. They're only just now getting their room assignments. Like where were they running to on the Athena when it was under attack? Okay.
Yeah.
Where have they been sleeping all this time? It's kind of weird.
And there's a line when they're getting their room assignments. At first, Caleb thinks he's gotten lucky and he's going to have Genesis as his roommate. But apparently that's a bridge too far, even for the 30th century. But instead, he's got a room with Draco Malfoy.
Exactly.
And he says that that's the definition of fascism. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no one in Hollywood knows what the word fascism means.
No. Fascism means whatever I dislike it today.
Yeah, it's fascism. Just for the record, fascism means state control of industries. That's what the fascists were all about.
Yep. I mean, use totalitarianism or authoritarianism or whatever.
Yeah.
I do like you're a wizard now, Caleb. So he's Harry Potter. What else do we have? I felt like Laura Thok was a little too aggressive in this one, especially, making the one cadet go running off crying.
Although that was a funny scene.
It was funny. Yeah. I do.
She's just for context. She's gonna teach self-defense or something to a bunch of students. She's got them out in a pavilion in the rain, and she's yelling at them. She's doing a drill sergeant routine, and she makes a point about I'm going to teach you to not be afraid, and she's yelling right in this girl's face. And the girl is looking more and more uncomfortable as the rant proceeds. And then when Laura Thok gets to the climax of her rant and shuts up, the girl just goes running off. and Laura Thok says, I can always spot the runner.
Right. That was funny. And she runs by a sign noting that it's Boothby Memorial Park.
Yep.
Yeah. Boothby from Next Gen. The whole thing with Beta Z. So we have this isolationist president who doesn't want to rejoin the Federation because apparently, for some reason, it's really important that we get Beta Z back.
Yeah, they make it clear that Beta Z has, I guess, been leading its own alliance of worlds. And so if they get Beta Z back, they get all these other worlds back into the Federation. And Beta Z has security concerns because if they explained it, it went by and I didn't ever see the explanation, but there's apparently a group of pirates called the Venari Ral or something like that.
That Nurse Braca is in, yeah.
Yeah, and I just heard people talking about the Venari Ral in a way that made it clear they were bad, but apparently they're a group of pirates and they've been preying on the Betazoid mini empire, and one of the president's concerns is that if we ally with the Federation, you're not going to protect us well enough because they need to let down their psychic shield in order to rejoin the Federation. And they're concerned if we let it down, we want like 6 war cruisers to protect us, and the Federation's only going to give us 3, and that's not enough security for us. And so that's the kind of stuff they're negotiating. And then it kind of makes sense when it's like, okay, how about if we put our capital on your planet? Okay, that's going to have security implications. They're going to protect their capital. They're going to give us the protection we need. So it would make sense for why he would reverse his position on that. Yeah.
Interesting, because the capital's always been Earth in all of Star Trek. It's always been Paris. What was I going to say about the movement to rejoin the Federation is they characterize it as a youth activist movement, and we learned it's being led by the president's 2 kids.
Yeah. Also, here we get into some political nonsense, but it's all low level stuff. It's like Captain Ake is like, activism, love it, and children are our ambassadors now, and Admiral Vance is talking about if the president does value a young demographic, which is clearly what we're going for with this series. It's all a little
pandering.
Yeah.
Well, and I found the whole thing weird that they're basically conducting high-level negotiations in front of the entire student body of Starfleet Academy. What the heck is going on
with a telepath?
With a telepath, exactly.
It would be more interesting if they explored the dynamics, and they never even mention, that you're negotiating with a telepath. How do you do that?
Right, exactly. And why is Admiral Vance the top negotiator? Why not the president of the Federation or the
Federation
foreign
president?
Minister of the Federation or something like that?
Wasn't Saru in charge of that when we last left Discovery? I know you didn't see that, Jimmy, but I think Saru was in charge of this, had become ambassador to rebuilding. He could have been there.
Right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, very, very odd that it's like the admiral in charge of Starfleet. That would make me concerned. Yeah, that was kind of odd. We had a scene of they had like a diplomatic reception, and the doctor's performing opera.
And that was fine. And he had, I wasn't sure if he had a diva, a partner singing with him. And I wasn't sure if she was an Adosian from Lieutenant Eric's race. I don't know. Her face kind of looked like it. You'll recall, like on Strange New Worlds a season ago or something, we had an Adosian bartender who was female. And this actress kind of looked like that to me, but it may not have been. But she sang well. I also noticed that they had English subtitles on the railing in front of them for what they were singing.
Yes.
And it's just incidental music, effectively. But I thought it was fine. I really hated, though, a particular exchange in this sequence, in the conversation, because the president comes up to Admiral Vance and Captain Ake, and the president delivers this stupid line. I mean, it starts stupid. And it gets worse. But he comes up and delivers this stupid line of the type you commonly see in Starfleet diplomatic ceremonies. In this case, the line is, "Progress requires change. Do you agree?" It's like, if everything's frozen in time, so there's no change, then I would assume that you need change in order to have progress.
Right.
So it's a stupid line to begin with. But then Admiral Vance has an even dumber response. He says, many who want progress don't want change, making both impossible. What the heck does that mean?
Any sense at all? I thought the same thing. That's like a gibberish. That doesn't make any sense. It's pseudo profound.
It's right up there with, it's cold outside when you go outside and it's cold.
Very profound of you. Take another drink. Because Admiral, I think you've had enough.
Keep wanting to relate this to certain politicians known for their word salads, but I'm not going to mention any names.
Oh, man. Now I'm thinking of a funny episode of that show. Oh, so let's talk a little bit about Caleb and what's her name? The girl that he, the daughter of the president there.
Just President's daughter.
President's daughter.
Yeah, I had it written down somewhere, but I can't find it.
Princess President, if you want.
Sure, let's Princess Beta Z. So,
and she does have a royal title in this show.
Yeah, she's Terima.
Terima, there you go.
And
man, do you know what that means in Indonesian?
I can't say that I do.
Well, Terima kasih is thank you.
Oh, okay. Of course you knew that. So, they meet while Caleb is trying to escape, and there is a nice line where he's literally climbing over the wall to get out, and she says, you are literally on the fence about leaving.
Yeah.
Like he's sitting on top of the wall. He's like, I guess you're right. I am literally on the fence about whether I should stay or go.
A good use of the word literally.
Yes. And there's another scene later on where he's giving a tour, and he shows her humpback whales in apparently part of the academy is inside San Francisco Bay.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But then it turns out one of them's pregnant. And it's like, oh, that's a little on the nose.
She did the Spock thing. Yeah. That was, again, it was like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to make this fan service, but it's just a little over the top. Yeah. I mean, to the point where they went to this one building on campus called the Turner Wing. And I'm like, all right, so who's Turner? I don't think it's anybody. I think they're making a joke about somebody making a donation to the academy or something.
Yeah, or someone we've never heard of, which is fine. Finally, someone we haven't heard of.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, I noticed we have the Kirk Pavilion at one point.
Yes.
And the Sato Atrium. They're not on the same level. I mean, Kirk should have much more named after him than a pavilion. I mean, hopefully he does. Maybe this is just one of many things named after him.
Sato did become an empress.
Well,
timeline, yes. Yeah. The Giorgio Pavilion.
Speaking of different timelines, I was thinking about this too. The Doctor, after 800 years of being online, still hasn't chosen a name. And in that alternate timeline of the Voyager finale, he did have a name.
Right, right.
But in the sort of the prime timeline, he still hasn't, even after all these centuries.
Right.
I actually appreciate that.
I do too, in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I know they initially planned to have him pick a name when they started the Voyager series, and they never got around to it. And it's like, good, because you don't need one. Right. He's a hologram. He's the Doctor. That's all. That's all you need.
Yeah. Just like in Doctor Who.
Yep.
60 years, you don't need a name. I have a note right here. It says, so much of this episode is spent feeling feelings. I have to say, there's a bit of that. We get the resolution that we expect. It's entirely pat and packaged nicely for us. Caleb's gonna stay. They get a new roommate of his future girlfriend's brother, who is extremely clumsy apparently, and breaks things.
It is nice when they have characters that can show flaws, which is something you often don't get in woke productions.
Yeah, we also dial back the antagonism between the Kionian kid and
the fish
Caleb.
guy. Yeah.
which is good. It was a little over. It's fine for it to start out harsh, but if they're going to be roommates, it would make sense not to be too much. Any other notes on this?
Oh, you first, Father.
One little thing, and that is, we have, at the beginning of the episode, we have Chancellor Captain Ake giving a speech about, start off the day making your bed, which is, of course, something from a real U.S. Air Force general in the recent past.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Jordan Peterson?
Was it? I couldn't remember.
No,
I don't know.
I think Father had it on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a Jordan Peterson guy.
Okay, yeah,
so,
no, it was an actual Air Force general, I believe, that had done that. Now, Peterson might have picked it up too. I don't know, but no, Captain Ake's using that line, and it just doesn't seem to fit with the person who shows up barefoot to an official function and can't sit straight up in the chair. It's like, well, yeah, start off making your bed and putting on your boots with your uniform, maybe.
But
I do that every day.
Admiral William McRaven, who wrote a book called
He was an admiral, not a general. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Peterson was like clean your room or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Similar to that.
Gotcha.
That was at UT Austin. He gave a commencement speech. Jimmy, any other notes on this one?
Yeah, there's I guess a couple of things. There's a moment when Princess Thank You gives Caleb access to the Betazoid database so he can search for the planet where his mom was imprisoned.
The Goji Berry planet.
The Goji Berry planet, and he puts his hands together in a praying posture and closes his eyes as he's waiting for the answer. And that certainly can be read as he's saying a little prayer there for help finding where his mom is. He also mentions later on when he's doing the airport apology, you mentioned they're in this Turner whatever building, and they've been talking a lot about this Turner person we've never heard of before. And he's talking to the princess and saying, the Federation's the villain in my story too. They took my mom. I should have told you I screwed up. She says, well, what do you want? And he says, because she's still suspecting him of just using her. Yep. And he says, forget about what I want. Get your dad back to the table for one last roll of the dice. And that way you can, say you gave it your best shot. And he says, for the love of God, do it for Turner. And for the love of God, it's always significant when you have some awareness of religion in a Star Trek context. So I liked that, but the setup for this scene made no sense to me, because the scene preceding this is one in Ake's quarters, and they're talking about his mom, and she's making another pitch to Caleb, yet another pitch for him to stay at Starfleet Academy. And they get to talking about his mom, and he says, Mom had a remarkable mind. And I'm going, of course she did.
Of course.
She apparently was a physics genius, as well as dumb enough to get duped into abetting a felony.
Well, clearly something about physics in her is going to be an important factor later on.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's like one or both of them has an aha moment after the mention of physics. And they say, in physics, there's always something you can build. And then we cut to the airport apology. And then we cut from that to the final negotiation. And it's like, what does physics and building stuff have to do with anything here?
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out either, actually.
Engineering, you can always build stuff. But I'm not sure what
it's not even
it followed.
Exactly.
I felt like something got cut from like a scene or line, something we missed,
or it was just sloppy writing trying to get from here to there.
Yes. Yeah. This is your starting out with your new series. Like, shouldn't everything be tight? Like, you had plenty of time. They didn't rush this out. Like, that bugs me almost more than anything. It's just how sloppy that sort of thing is. Yeah.
And for the audience, if you're wondering, yes, we were able to convince Dom to go ahead and do this weekly precisely because it makes it more interesting for the listeners when we have criticisms.
Yes.
Just not so many that I would refuse to watch it.
Yes. With Discovery, it was Jimmy who did not want to watch it anymore. With me, I had to be convinced that we're going to do this week to week, in all honesty. All right. So that is the Kids These Days and beta test. We will of course be continuing next week. I did promise we have some listener feedback, and I want to get to that right now. I know this episode's going long, so I want to get to the feedback pretty quickly. We got feedback on Operation Annihilate, the original series, from Roscoe Tube, who writes, this episode scared the heck out of my 7-year-old self on reruns. I was checking ceilings for a while after, and this episode has never left me. Not my favorite episode, but the squeaky sound they made and the fact that Spock was so affected, for me, made this more of a horror experience, which should be appreciated.
Yeah, this is a body horror episode, and this was not what I signed up for as a kid on Star Trek. So this is one of my least rewatched episodes of the original series.
Yeah, I think I walked around dark corners looking up for a while after watching that. All right, and then on the Enterprise episode Marauders, Georgius I. Rex writes, T'Pol has obviously mastered Volcasian Aikido to defeat the Klingons, which is a Doctor Who reference. Part of the point of Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven was that the samurai and mercenary gunslingers had put the peasants in this situation and made them conniving cowards unable to stand up for themselves. Reducing it to our main characters defending good-hearted settler folk loses that drama.
It's been a while since I've watched the Seven Samurai. I remember it being much more complex than the super simple good versus evil plot they have here, but I'd have to rewatch it to see if I pick up the same dynamic.
Right. It's not going to be on the level of Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. They don't even get to 7.
Right, exactly. On our discussion of the original series episode Metamorphosis, Paul Mual Steve 5063, these YouTube usernames are sometimes difficult to parse, but he says, the other issue with identifying Cochrane is they're not looking for Cochrane to connect the dots. It likely would not come to their mind. It would be like seeing George Washington in modern clothes. We wouldn't be able to automatically identify him because our brain is telling us he's been dead for centuries. Yeah. I mean, heck, when I see people out of the context that I've met them in, like someone I only know from church, and I see them in the store, I'm like, do I know that person? And then it takes a bit for me to connect the dots. So I agree.
Yeah, I also agree. But what I'm really concerned about is justice for Nancy Hedford.
Or Nancy. And then this next comment is on Strange New Worlds, almost as a whole. This came from Jay Highland on our Discord community. He writes, I recently got a discounted Paramount subscription and am getting caught up on Strange New Worlds. I just finished listening to the Secrets of Star Trek episode on A Space Adventure Hour, and a couple things came to mind. First, Jimmy, it made me feel better to hear you had problems following the detective story. It gave me hope that maybe I'm not as dense as I thought I was, because I had problems with it too. Yeah,
it was just badly written.
Someone not used to writing detective stories. Second, something that has always bothered me about Strange New Worlds is how palatial the quarters are. How do they go from the reasonable quarters in TOS to these? In this episode, it occurred to me that perhaps the actual question is, how do they go from the quarters in Strange New Worlds to those in TOS? Answer, doubling of crew size and renovating the ship to accommodate? The follow-up questions then are, has that been a consideration for the story arc, and how will they get there?
Dom, you first.
As the resident ship geek, they don't care. Yeah. They're not gonna, palatial quarters makes for easy shooting and looks really cool, and that's what it's about. Every room on the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds is way bigger than anything on the original series because they had bigger sound stages and more money. But they don't care about making the look or the feel of the tech from Discovery of Strange New Worlds match up with TOS.
Agreed. And at the same time, the ship's complement does double.
It does.
In Captain Pike's time, it's like 200 people. In Captain Kirk's time, it's like 400. So there is a logical explanation if you want to think about it, but they didn't care.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Why double? Usually the numbers go down because things get more efficient and automated, but yeah, whatever.
We got to boldly explore even harder.
Yes. Well, we need to get a historian on board for one.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got to add that 20th century historian.
All right. So thank you everyone for your feedback. We do love to get that and talk about it. So now we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Star Trek, including Patrick G, Nicole D, Kristen A, Eric W, and Angela A. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Star Trek and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And so that's it from us this time. We'd love to know what you think of Starfleet Academy and its first 2 episodes, the kids these days in beta test. Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/trek. Send an email to trek@sqpn.com, or visit our Discord community at sqpn.com/discord, or watch the Secrets of Star Trek on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing, well, not The Hunted. That was going to be the Next Generation. We're going to keep talking about Starfleet Academy, so we'll be discussing the 3rd episode of Starfleet Academy, whatever they have decided to call it. They haven't told us yet. Until then, Jimmy Aiken, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Star Trek.
Thank you. And I just remembered a piece of feedback I had on the end of episode 1, which is I thought the ending with the Scott McKenzie song, "If You're Going to San Francisco," was totally lame. Yes. But in the meantime, live long and prosper.
And Father Jason Tyler, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Star Trek on StarQuest. And remember, as Homer Simpson said, everything really wrapped up nicely. Much quicker than usual. Hey, he's not happy at all. He lied to us through song. I hate it when people do that.